One. Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis, and today I'm very grateful and very humble to be joined by two absolute legends, Carter Russell, Mitch Durden. The links to their chats they've had on my podcast already will be down the bottom so you can listen to their stories more in depth. But today we're going to do an epic roundtable, gentlemen. I've been looking forward to this for a month since I come across Mitch. I reckon Carter and Mitch are going to get on really well. Similar story, similar age. Really inspiring our young men out there, our young boys. They're doing awesome things. I'm going to mute my microphone. Carter, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, and then Mitch, do the same. Boys, this is going to be great. Looking forward to it.
Let's run it.
Yep.
Carter. Show yourself, Carter.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Nathan. And I'm really enjoying meeting each other. I love meeting people in this field. It's the connections you make are so great. Bit about me. Well, my story probably starts off from the porn front. I watched porn from ages of probably 11 or 12 till 18. And yeah, if you want to go into detail of my history with porn, you can listen to Nathan's previous podcast. But today I help men kick the habit that is porn, and I actually rather than saying quit porn, I help empower men to live a life so good they don't need porn, because ultimately porn is a vice, and if you can create a life that you like living, and where those traumas, those wounds, and those parts of you that are in pain are no longer in pain, then you don't need to use porn for a vice. Like right now, I don't have any urges to use porn because I enjoy my life and I know where porn takes me. So that's my goal with men. I also run a podcast. I just love talking to people. As I said, I love meeting new people. I love talking to them. I love hearing about how they turned their darkness or their pain into a gift. So that's the whole ethos behind my podcast. And yeah, that's what I do today.
Awesome, Carter. Mitch. You come on a couple of weeks ago. People know who you are, but just go again anyway.
I am back. For those of you who don't remember, my name is Mitch. Blessed to be back here. Nathan, blessed to be back on this platform. Like I said, my name is Mitch. I'm 22. I am now a men's mentor and life coach. I help young men who are struggling to find purpose, find worth, find confidence, struggle to speak to women, all because I've been in the same place in my life when I absolutely had no drive to do anything. I was in a shitty job and I was living a life of absolute unfulfillment. So now I run a program for young men, 19 to 30, anywhere to help them get back on track. I run a podcast as well, just like all the other boys do. It's how we all met and come in contact with each other. Other than that, I'm strong, I'm powerful, and I'm a legend in the space. So I know that I'm going to make an impact. I know all of us boys are here for a reason. So appreciate you boys for having me back on. Let's get this underway.
All right.
Let's dive into it, my friend.
First topic of the round table, I reckon. Men, we were just talking about it off air. I was going to go with porn, and then we started talking about dating apps. Now, a lot of these young boys, just like me, just like you, we're all on them.
Yeah.
What's your experience with them, Carter? What was your experience with those dating apps, and how can we empower our younger generation to get off them mainly?
Oh, yeah, there's so many ways you could go against at these apps, but like you said, we've all been there. I think for me, one of the biggest things I realized is, again, and this could be a bit of a porn issue, but the dating apps are they're physical. I mean, that's all you can go off. You can go off their looks, you can go on what they say about themselves, but there's so much at play with mating mating and finding a partner that is not physical and not like. I remember one time, I'll give you an example. One time I had a match on Tinder and she was really good looking. And I went there, I picked her up. As soon as I picked her up, I knew it wasn't on. I knew it. It was like, oh. And there was it was nothing. There was not an energetic match. And I think that's the problem. You can't sense that. And then sometimes maybe you overthink it. You go, oh, well, she's good looking. You know, she also works at a cafe and she also likes going to the beach. So maybe it'll work and we'll just see what happens. And I think you're cutting out on such a crucial part of mating, when the mating dynamics, when you go through those apps. That's one of the biggest problems I see with it. Yeah.
Mitch,
It's an interesting one. And now that I've been, Nath, we talked about it, but back out in the field, it's been very interesting to see the dynamics between everything. I think for me, right, they're a universal part of our generation, right? There is no taking away from them where a lot of our lives are online, right? So I think the way you can harness these things are the way that really they're going to play out to your life. The only thing that I really ask myself and would be asking other people is how do you feel about yourself internally if you were to get a match on Tinder or Hinge or whatever, in comparison to going out there and approaching a beautiful woman and then feeling whatever comes up in that moment? Because I think the environment that you put yourself in, sure, it's great to get a match. These things are only temporary, and they're an infinite source of pleasure. So that once you get one, there is no end game to that. Sure, you might meet someone, but like I said, for me, I really learned to distinguish between when I go out there and approach a beautiful woman and use the courage, even though there's fear already there, rather than sending her some shitty pickup line that I've seen off somebody else. That goes into my self-worth, but let alone that, the connections that I have with people are far stronger than they ever would be from just sending a message. So I'm sure you boys can relate, but one thing you notice as well is it is so easy to put up a front on Tinder or Instagram to say all of our best pictures that make us look the best that we possibly can. Sure, that's great, but also that goes into the other way around, where we sometimes find people that don't represent the person they really are, especially when us men, I feel I can get very carried away with good looking women. And then that to be, like Carter said, the most important thing. When in reality, you're going to be spending time with this person. I personally think it's the personality is the most important thing. It's just my opinion anyway. But
100%.
One more thing to touch on there as well is I recently saw a video of someone talking about the apps have come out and acknowledged that they want to keep you on the app as well. So
yeah.
it's not actually designed for you to find a partner and get off the app. It's like, as you said, Mitch, it's that like, oh, I got a match, the next match. It never ends.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a weird one. It's so weird that especially for our age, that Tinder has more taken off than Hinge. I find it very interesting because, like even Carter said, it's like the good-looking women principle. It's so easy, and it's like almost a. I think I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and it's like, where would you be without the fear of going up and approaching a beautiful woman? Like, I'd be concerned if you were so comfortable in doing that, because the fear is what drives us in worth, right? It's like, if you can do that and use courage anyway to go and approach a beautiful woman, then like, how much better are you going to feel about yourself than saying, what was the one I saw yesterday? Oh, rose to red, but whatever, like these shitty ones that are just like, and especially text. I cannot stand text, boys. I don't know if I've sent you guys voice messages lately, but it's all I do because it's so easy to take things out of context and not understand whatever anyone's saying, especially the female brain for us to try and understand. I'm sure it's the vice versa as well, but I don't know. It's an interesting paradigm, but all I'm saying is like I said, ask yourself the question: are you going to feel better about yourself texting this woman or finding her out in public and going to approach her and being the fucking man?
Just through my observations in society today, a lot of boys your age are scared to do that, and then they get all nervous. They have obviously their own stuff going on, obviously, but then they'll say something like immature and ridiculous, just like that. I hear it in my circles at the moment. I'm hearing how some of these young boys are operating, and I'll tell you a quick story. One of them said to this girl I sort of know now, and this young boy they were like talking and stuff, and they met up, and then the first thing he said to her was, "Gee, our kids would look good together," or something. Like, no, I think he said our kids would look great if we were to. It's like, what? Why would you go with that? Like. I couldn't believe what I heard. Seriously, it's something along the lines of them having kids, and it's like that's the first time they've met, and he's gone with that. Like it's not. It's. How do we get? The question I want to ask you is from that story is how did we get to this point? Because
these things are idolized on social media as the way to get girls.
100%.
Right? And in men, getting girls is something that I've learned as well. can sometimes come to a point where it takes up all of our worth. Like literally our whole livelihoods can be dedicated to getting women. And then my presence from school is growing up in a system where it was like, okay, who can get the most?
Yeah.
Who can get the most? So now we're in a phase where Tinder's so popular. And then you've got people out there on TikTok, Instagram that are selling dopamine texting and these quick ways to get women. And it's obviously because everyone man's like, oh, I want women. I want to feel this. I want to feel that. So it's like, I think we've just gone so heavily based off of quantity rather than quality. Because there's so many more self-worth issues now for sure. But it's like, how can I fill that void, and what's the easiest way to it?
Yeah. What do you think, Carter?
I think it's easy.
It is.
Approaching a woman is hard, and we seem to innovate on ways to make our life more easy, and that always comes with a price. You know, sexual satisfaction, that's a really hard thing to get. You need to find a partner, you need to court her, you need to take her on a date, you need to listen to her, you need to woo her, and then maybe eventually you'll have sex. Whereas today it's like, I'm horny, 20 seconds you're on porn. You know, I want a partner, but I don't want to approach that woman at the shop. So it's much easier to do it here. And I think that's why we've got these apps today, because it's easy.
But then it's breeding the immature men and the boys really. And then you get the stories that I get, and it's like they're just missing something, aren't they?
Well, it's an initiation, like going up to a woman and doing that throughout your life is an initiation for boys to become men almost, because
100%.
I don't know, I've done it. I've done it a few times, and this one time I talked to a girl. I picked up a book and I was like absolutely shaking. Like it was it is the scariest thing for a man to do. I think one of the scariest things a man can do, and I think you're supposed to cop the setbacks. You're supposed to cop the nose, and you're supposed to like learn how to deal with that, and then go again. Like being brave isn't not feeling the fear; it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yes,
100%.
Love that.
Yeah, we'll just end it there, Carter.
Mic drop moment number one.
But then you go deeper again. It's like, well, that boy that said that to that girl I know, well, you know, that would have come from TV shows, programming in movies, different things that's how to treat a woman. And then reality comes in and he says something like that. And it's like, because I had those moments too. And then it finally hit me and smacked me in the face. Like, women don't like being treated like that. Because at the end of the day, what you're watching on the screen's a movie, they're acting. And in reality, in the real world here, women don't necessarily like being treated like that and having things said to them like that. And that's something that our young boys need to remember, I feel.
One thing I will touch in here, I've had so many chats with my beautiful mother about this, because
Here we go.
trying to understand the female brain is not always an easy task for a male.
That is true.
The one thing that I've come down to realize, and I want to make a separate video on this, for my personal, if there is a way that you need to get a woman being anything other than yourself, i.e. dopamine texting, i.e. using a shitty pickup line that you've seen somewhere else, i.e. using a car or like some external object to boost your status, you attract what you put out there. So sure, you may attract these women, but are they really the ones that you're looking for? So like I would ask you, is it worth actually going out and attracting the wrong women for you being anything other than your truest self? Because if we are being our truest self and we get rejected, there is nothing we can say negative about ourselves, because we are our truest level of self. And that is the only person that really matters in this equation. So this is just a personal opinion.
I want to put my age group in here too. Are we fearing that rejection?
100%.
So then we try and make things comfortable by saying something funny that's not necessarily funny. It's like, how did you guys how did you guys deal with that uncomfortability and then pushing through that barrier, and what Carter said, just doing it anyway?
Carter, I'm going to jump in here, my bro. Yeah, literally.
Carter, cool.
I'm gonna jump in here, bro, because look, no one's got a fear of heights. People have a fear of falling off, right?
Yeah,
And
true.
and hitting the ground, right? Or wherever that is. So no one has a fear of actually, I don't think, going up to the woman. I think most men have this fear of rejection.
Yes.
So where would you be without the fear? The fear is normal. You will never cull fear. But Carter is spot on when he says, if you have the fear and can do it anyway, then that just shows you the kind of and the level of man that you actually are. Because it's not about removing fear. It's about managing it.
Mm.
Because where would we be without it?
Mm.
Carter.
So true. I was gonna say the same thing. It's
Yeah.
about feeling that fear and going for it anyway. But something that helped me was, and I think I know I keep talking about it, but I think porn has another thing to play here because it 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 doesn't if you don't when you watch porn, you get the sexual satisfaction without any work. Right. So if you remove that and if you remove
Yes.
that sexual satisfaction, then you go, okay, well, I feel a lot of fear, but I also there's no other option, right? So I think that porn can be a way out of that fear. It's like, well, I don't need to approach her because I can just go home and get one off. Whereas that desire, that sexual desire, although it shouldn't be the only reason you go and approach a woman, it's still okay to have that desire. It serves a role in our biology. So that desire and that need can hopefully give you the little nudge, the kick to overcome that fear to go and approach the woman. And that
Yes.
was what happened for me on day 7. It was a beautiful girl walked into the cafe that I was working at, and I was like absolutely shit scared. But I just told myself when I put down the smoothie, I'm going to ask what book she's reading. And put down and I don't really do stuff like that before, and I did it, and it was within 2 weeks we started seeing each other. It's a really great practice, and I realized how good the practice was after a few of those experiences that I did it to women. Like I just talked to women even if I had no kind of desire to pursue anything. I just wanted to practice the muscle. It's a muscle, and the more you do it,
Mm,
the better you get, and it
Mm.
ricochets into all elements of your life. I believe. Yeah.
That's well said.
100%.
It's like
Yeah.
going to the gym, in it. Like you can go in there skinny and you do the reps. You just do the reps, keep doing the reps, keep showing up, and eventually, you build strength. And it's the same with, yeah, you're right. Same with every facet of your life. It's like going to the gym. You just continually build strength each and every day, and then you eventually get, the reward, right?
Mm.
Hmm.
Mm,
But then
mm,
you were coming from a heart-centered place too, Carter. There was no ego there. You weren't
mm.
going to ask her of that book what she was reading. You weren't going to say something immature like that guy did. You were just going there from a heart-centered place saying, hey, what book are you reading? With the intent of eventually taking her out. I think our younger generation have lost that. We're too ego-based, where we're just going in there purely for one thing, right? Let's just be honest. They're going there for one thing. And
Yes.
and the women, they want a man that wants to take them out and do these things with them. They don't want a man showing up saying our kids will look good when we like this. It's like I just keep going back to that story because it just makes sense. But our women, they want maturity and they want a man that's a man, not a man that's a boy in a man's body.
Yes.
Why do you think, Nathan, that we have these men or boys approaching women from that egocentric kind of like wanting to be loved rather than wanting to love?
Well, I'll turn this into like the sporting culture here in Australia. A lot of the like Americans call them jocks. A lot of our boys play sport, right? And in that culture, there's obviously drinking and stuff from the TV and that too. They're all promoting it. But in that locker room setting, I used to play a bit of AFL back in the day, and in that locker room setting, I'm not gonna lie, we would talk and we would compare how many we would have. That's an ego thing. How many we've
Yes.
slept with. How did last night go? How many, and was that continual conversation where we're all in the ego state. Well, there's a couple that will be the heart-centered men that are the genuine ones and that wouldn't say anything, but the ones that were like me, a bit louder, and that we'd all be comparing our women for the night or for and that's an ego thing. And then we would look at the man in the team that was the heart center, was a bit more nurturing and had the long-term girlfriend. And not gonna lie, I was jealous of that guy because he was sort of nurturing, he was caring, he had, still had women, he had a long-term girlfriend. It's like, I want that. But I was so stuck in that program of, oh, I was scared and scarred from love too. I was scared of having a woman, but I was in that program of, well, I'll just get one off for the night with this woman, and then just the cycle will just continue, to then please the other boys in the footy club to be like, well, I did this on the weekend. And, that's sort of the culture around it in the world, really. It's the sporting culture. It's how it's a real interesting culture, from the drinking, from comparing women, and then having the nurturing guy sort of on the outside of the group. That's sort of how it was for me. I don't know what it was like for you boys. But that's sort of where mine came from, just being in a sporting club.
I agree with you, because I'd come back to, like I said, with school. It's like, I almost think it's like unconsciously programmed into us. Like, when I say unconsciously, I just think it goes in from an age that we're not really like conscious of it.
100%.
But like the men around us, it's almost like you said, Nathan, it's like, who can get the most? And then that's almost like, I think there is a massive worth behind going up and approaching a woman and pursuing things and taking it, and then eventually getting deeper and deeper and achieving things in a relationship. That's great. But I think what we've taken it into from a young age is like, how many people can I just sleep with? Because it's a very difference between men and women. It's like, in some ways, and this is a generalization, not what I agree with, the amount of bodies I have, the amount of women I have, makes me a weapon or a stud or whatever. Like, it gives me a sense of being the man in the hierarchy situation. But for women, it's the complete opposite. So it's a very interesting dynamic, man. I don't think, because I've been facing this the last few years, I've noticed when I go out there and see women that I'm like attracted to and interested in, I really have one goal in mind. So I've been working on actually figuring out a deeper connection. And it's like, even thinking about, okay, if I was to go do that, do I want to be around this person after that?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we should be looking for, instead of being just the external pleasures. And I think porn comes into that as well. It's like, sure, I'd rather you go with a woman any day of the week than go like over a screen and use it. But still, is that really worth the time and the endless transaction? I don't personally think so. But, what do I know? I'm just a big monkey, right?
Got anything to add there, Carter?
I think he said that
Yeah.
very well. Yeah. I experienced throughout my high school years that body count mentality, but I think because of my wounding, I was always looking for the one true love. So but well, in saying that, no, there were still times at when you go clubbing or whatever, and you were kind of just like, oh, you just want to take someone home. There was definitely that element too.
That'll do.
Yeah.
It's interesting because being in that sporting club, it's a hierarchy thing, right? You want to be liked by everyone else. So you're sort of doing that to please them. And then you're sort of hiding your own stuff to just, like, you're people pleasing, aren't you? So that's a form of self-sabotage, we'll say, which it is. But I was doing those things to please those around me, just to fit in with the tribe.
What do we think?
But then I'd watch those movies, American Pie and all those movies that has the Stifler guy in it as the cool guy. Well, that's the sort of guy I sort of wanted to be.
What do you guys think the biggest underlying wound is here when it comes to this? Because we've talked about where it comes from. Do you think the biggest underlying wound for men is not being enough because they're chasing this never-ending spectrum of trying to get enough women?
Yeah.
Or do
you want to go deeper again?
Or do you think it's not being accepted by everybody else?
I think that's one layer of it. I think there's a deeper level, and I'll go with it. I think a lot of the men out there have the one woman in their life's their mother. They were in their womb, and the mother, first person they laid their eyes on was their mother. A lot of boys out there have a lot of mummy issues, we'll say, a lot of issues with their mother. The one woman that they couldn't trust in their life may not have been there for them, may not have nurtured them, may not have shown them love in an unconditional way, which is prevalent throughout society today. And I find, and I've found that a lot of our young men out there, they don't trust women because at the end of the day, they don't trust their mother. And for me, that was the thing I had. I didn't trust my mum for such a long time, given the house I was raised in. But then I was able to find that trust for my mum, forgive her for the things that she had done, to let that go, to let that relationship back into my life. That's something our young boys will need to consider on a real deep level. Are my women issues related to the relationship with my mother, Carter?
Yeah,
Mitch,
well,
whichever
No,
one you
go
want.
Carter. You're good.
I would say absolutely, especially
Yeah.
after, like as Tizzy says, your relationship with your mother is your relationship to love. Like you come out of the womb, you look at your mum, and that's your love. So he said his mum, when he split up, his mum made him feel guilty. Yeah, his mum made him feel guilty because of different things. Wasn't I don't know how it works, but he felt guilty. So then when he found a partner, he wanted to make them feel guilty because that's his form of love. So he said, even if they cheated on me, that's okay. I'm happy about it because they feel guilty, which means they get the love. There is so much happening in our love lives that is related to our upbringing.
100%.
Um,
But it's
and
every
then I
facet of our
talked to,
lives too.
Yes,
it is
definitely.
it's a massive
Yeah.
like I talked to someone on my podcast about this. His name's Jeremiah Latimo, and he was also
I love
saying
that guy.
he's
Legend.
great. Hey,
Yeah.
he's great, and he's saying that a lot of men they have these mother issues, but the problem is when they grow up and they look at maybe they try and go back and have a look at why they have these issues. Like let's say there's a few times that Timmy wanted to show mum his drawing, and the mum was rightly so busy. So Timmy's like, "Oh, mum doesn't care about my drawing," and then there's a wound about that. When they grow up, they don't want to acknowledge that that happened because they feel bad. They feel like they owe their mum because the mum did so much, right? Because the mothers are like the most underappreciated people on this planet. So then they they grow up and they intellect. Oh well, I was just a kid. Mum was probably busy, and then they push it away. And so it's actually really hard to see the wounds when it comes to the mother because we feel like we shouldn't think these things about ourselves. If that makes sense? It's a bit of a complicated topic, but I found that very interesting.
Because there's a lot of things going on unconsciously from our childhood where we wanted our mum's attention, may not have necessarily got it. So then later in life, that plays out because we're seeking that attention and that love from someone else rather than ourselves. And then from the lack of, or the way that different kind of love. It's like if we can find that love for ourselves on a deep level, and then let go of and forgive too. Forgiveness is a big one. Let go and forgive those around us, including our parents, mother especially. Then we can move forward, and then that energetic match of the right woman may come into play, and you won't be looking for something that you can't already give to yourself.
Just one more thing to touch on too before I
Go for
go
it.
to you, Mitch. I want to say as well, like the mothers did the best that they could, and it's not we don't blame ever we don't
No.
ever blame them. It's your responsibility to do the work now. You're old enough now. You're no longer a child. So if something happened to you when you were a child, rather than pointing the finger and saying this is why I am the way I am, it's important for you to go back and reparent yourself because you can do that.
Yes.
You can. And one of the big
100%.
reality checks I had was a mentor told me I think we heal deep and deep and deep forever. So we don't actually say we're healed. But during some of my enlightening experiences, I had a mentor tell me, well, you allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I allowed this. So then, you go into the blame yourself for it. And then you start blaming yourself. But it's like, well, yeah, I did allow it. So then next time, how do I take my power back from that situation? That was a reality check for me that smacked me in the face a bit. I was like, shit. But
I
yeah,
agree.
it makes sense though. Mitch?
The intention's there for that, but that's a very interesting statement coming from a mentor.
No, I needed it.
Because we don't have control, of how to
No, we
handle
don't.
these things.
Yeah.
So I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, it is an interesting one because for me, I've always had a incredible relationship with my mum. I'm going to say like all my life, and especially up to this day, like I have one of the best relationships with my mom. And unfortunately, some people do get a shit run, right? I'm very blessed with the parents that I had and everything, but still. And the reason I asked you boys that and the paradigm between both questions is like, I think I had a great relationship with my mum, but I still felt a lot of pressure to be accepted by the men around me for doing these things, like
Yeah, it's a big
having a
one.
bigger body count, or like fitting in, or speaking about these women. I was always so uncomfortable with like the exploitive language, like that men would talk about women like in that way. And they're like, because I was raised right, and I was always so uncomfortable, but that made me feel a certain way about myself, like I wasn't a man, or like normal. But at the same time, like now that I've grown up and past this, like that is not the key to being a fucking man at all.
No.
A body count does not determine anything for you. Absolutely nothing. And this comes back to porn for you, Carter, as well. It's like, are you more of a man if you can give in to external pleasures, or are you more of a man if you can have the courage and get through the fear than to actually subside them?
Mm.
It's an interesting one. Like I said, do you guys think one of the deeper core wounds here is not being accepted, or it's not being enough for doing the things that other men do?
That's definitely part of it. 100%. It
Yeah.
definitely plays a part because we all want to
100%.
fit in. We're of tribal, like
Yes.
tribal instincts are in our DNAs, and we want to find a tribe to feel comfortable and safe and familiar in. It's 100%. Carter, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a quote from Adam Lane Smith was, "Women want to be loved, men want to be respected."
Yeah.
So it's
true.
like the women seek love, and the men seek respect. And so that, I think that's how we're trying to find a sense of respect, and as you said, like our worth. And I think as well, if you look to maybe not all, but there's definitely some of the only male mentors out there, or the male what do you call them when you look up to someone?
Role
Word slipped
model
from my head.
or
Role
something.
models. Yeah, role
Yeah.
models. You look at the male role models. We don't have many for masculinity, like for healthy masculinity. And some of the ones that we do have are very much like still in that got girls around them all the time.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just like that programming. You are worth how many girls you have, and it's an
Mm.
unfortunate program. So yeah, I definitely think what you're saying. You're bang on the money there, Mitch.
Mm.
Nathan, I want to jump in here if you don't mind. I want to
Go
ask a
for it.
question to you boys, because this has been something that I've been thinking about. Lately, I want to have more women on my podcast because I think it's broadening my knowledge, but also the platform around me. And one thing that I've been asking every single woman that I like have been chatting to is like, who is your role model? Because I personally, like Carter, I agree with you. There's not enough like true role models that men have. But at the same time, in comparison to women, I don't think women really have any. In like a
It's true.
personal map of the world, I don't think there's really like one female that I like. Obviously, my mum, right? Love my mum. She's a beautiful woman. But like, if I was a woman, like, who would I be looking up to?
I can give you a
I,
few names. Just go back to the back catalogue of my podcast women out there. There's a few on mine that are doing some good things that are young. There are
yeah.
some out there.
But this is the thing, Nathan. Those ones that are usually against the grain, or aren't like full of plastic or full of this, like aren't the successful ones. You know,
Yeah, true.
success is a broad term, but like the ones that are out there and have the success, right? That's interesting term. That I don't know. I would never consider them to be like valid role models at all.
But
Does
this
Yeah,
is
that
we talk
where
about the
women are looking up to these influencers, though, aren't they? With
yes,
the fake
yes,
lips, the fake this, the fake
the fake
that.
everything. Yes.
Yeah, that's and unfortunately, Mitch, I don't want to bag the Gold Coast, but most of them seem to live where you are at the moment.
Yes, it's true. It's very true. Why though? Because these women, the ones with the fake everything, it's almost considered glamorous, right? The massive thing behind the woman ideology is the beauty, right? But now I think the image of beauty, especially in somewhere like the Gold Coast and Sydney, has shifted because so many people are joining the fake lips, the fake boobs, the fake bum. And this is one of those things as well. It's an infinite level of pleasure. You don't ever get to a point where you're like, you know what? I look good enough now. That's it.
Yeah, is it a
But
self-worth thing, Carter? Do you feel it's a
yes,
self-worth thing, Mitch Carter?
yeah, oh,
Yeah.
100%. 100%, because it's filling a void, right?
Mm.
The fake things, the external pleasures are filling a void. And unfortunately, like I said, they're infinite. So how are they ever going to be filled with plastic surgery or, you know, Instagram followers? And I fall victim to this as well. But
Yeah, it's an interesting topic.
It's all about your role models. For women, it's like, who do they look up to? There's even Nathan, a great example is the Gold Coast. Like, who would I be looking up to? I don't know. I don't know
Yourself.
anyone,
Look up to
really.
yourself.
Oh, for men, yes. Fucking, I'm a
Yeah.
weapon, right? I everyone will look up to me. But if I was a girl, like a young girl, like who am I looking up to?
Yeah, it's a good question to ponder, isn't it, Carter?
Yeah, I think it's a lacking realm today. Like if we go back to
Mm,
tribal days, we had our father, but then we had all his mates and uncles, and then we had the grandfathers, and we had this like line of chiefs, and we would seek knowledge and we'd watch the elder realm where we don't necessarily have that today. I mean, unless you're close with your grandparents, but even then, that's only one or two people, and I think we are missing that lineage
Yeah.
role models as well. And if you listen to some of the famous, no doubt, I'm sure you did an article on this, Nathan. If you listen to some of the famous women artists at the moment, it's
yes.
the young and the music that the younger girls are listening to is
Yeah, if you want to have a read of
horrid.
that blog, we'll put that in the bottom. I did an
Mm.
song review on Doja Cat's Painting the Town Red the other week. That went around the world and back. That got a few
That
clicks on
song
it.
is
So
a
if you want to
banger,
have a
though.
read.
I can't lie.
Oh, no.
The lyrics are shit, and the message there is horrible, but the song's catchy, is what I'm saying.
It is
It's
catchy because of how many
catchy
times they
song.
repeat the words in it. That's how they
Yes.
make it catchy. And the words aren't
Yes.
necessarily what we want to be manifesting in our reality, though, are they?
No, not at all.
Mm.
But there's an interesting one though, because I think like for us to look upon the opposing generation, opposing, I just mean the opposite in women. There's so many different ideologies to what it is to be successful for women now. Some women want to go against the traditional, like, settle down, have kids. They want their own business and stuff, which I think is great.
Mm.
But I think the shift and the paradigm of success has been shifted so much within women that it's like, who do we look up to? Like, what is the successful and traditional thing to do here? So I think that's why I asked that question, because I'm interested in it, but because, like, if I was a woman, I don't know who I would look up to at all. Because what is the version of success is different to everybody, but what is the version of success for women? It's very interesting for me
Get a
to
young woman on and have a
think
chat
about.
about it, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
But
What
you
is
can
your
tie that.
version of success, Nathan?
My version of success, well, I always go deep with it. So like I was always in the success. We'll go with what I used to think success was how many women I slept with, how much money was in my bank account, all those material things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you go, when you start work on yourself and you start your business and your podcast, and then your values and we'll go with values and your expectations and success changes. It's now, well, how am I of service to humanity, which is what Tizzy said on your podcast the
Yes.
other week. And I asked myself that question last week. How am I of service? Am I of service to others? And then it's the question of, am I worthy enough? And it's like, yes, I am. So then my success, well, when I'm laying on that deathbed in hopefully 70 years time, which I got a feeling I will be around for a while. And my success is,
Yes, let's go.
am I looking my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, my children, people around me, am I looking them in the eye and saying, you know what? I made this happen. I did this. I did that. I was of service to others. I let go of all of the emotions that I had as a child. I did live this life, right? And I'm looking at them going, I have no regrets. So in society today, our success is measured on women slept with, men slept with, how many Instagram followers, how many Facebook friends, how many Snapchats we send, TikTok followers. It's all based on these material things.
Mm-hmm.
When we go deeper, when we ask ourselves, am I of service to others? And then ask ourselves the question is, what is success to me? Is it these material things? Or is it, you know what? I've come to a point where I understand my soul's purpose, my soul's mission, and I'm going to set the intention to fulfill that. So my success has gone from women to bank accounts to, am I of service to others? Am I walking in alignment with my truest path? And am I able to let go of some of these things that was holding me back from stepping into that? And my version of success is now, am I of service to others? Yes, I am. And it's not about the money. It's not about, that's all great, but it's not about that anymore. It's about becoming the best version of me that I can be to then be a better role model out there in society. And then for my own children too. So it gives them something better to mirror can copy. And then that goes through the generations. See how we're bringing about a generational change? So my version of success is, will I leave my kids in a better position than when I was in? And that is driving me now, is leaving this place that we call Earth better for our children than what it currently is now.
Let's go.
That's my success. That was deep.
Let's
But Carter, what's
go.
yours?
Oh,
I love
it's
it,
hard to
bro.
top that, Nathan.
Sorry, bro.
Oh, no, I very much think about the future generations that are to come after me, and what I will leave for them, not financially, but like mentally, morally, and different things
Yeah.
like that. I think, yeah, I often think about kids. Actually, I know I'm only young, but I date an older woman, so
I cannot relate. I cannot relate.
Not yet,
Uh,
anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think about what the kids will think, what my kids will think, and I think I've changed to like, it was interesting. I noticed that I was getting a little bit caught up on the numbers and like trying to work out how I could reach more people and blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
But then I came down. Every time I catch myself on those numbers, because it's easy to do on Instagram and when you're
Oh,
in this
yes,
kind of
yes, yes,
business,
yes.
I
Mhm.
kind of stopped creating content from that point of view of like this is gonna go viral. Like I'll create a funny video and it'll go viral, and go how what kind of content can I make that will have the biggest impact on the most people?
Exactly.
Mhm.
And that subtle shift is, and same with money. Like, oh, I'm going to create this course and I'm going to earn this much money, which is natural to do because I'm also in business. So
Mm.
like it's normal. But then when you switch it from going, no, 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 stop, stop, don't worry about the money. How can I make this program so that it serves the most people, and then they serve each other?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So a
Yeah,
subtle
I love
shift, but
that.
yeah, I like
Well
that.
said.
Mm.
Good question, Mitch.
Mm.
Well, good question.
Yeah, that was a good
Thank you,
question.
sir.
So
I
what's
ask
your
questions for a
version of
living.
success? Well, then we'll ask that question to you, bro. What's
What
your
is my
yeah.
version of success? My version of success is living in fulfillment. Why? Because I've been in a place that I was in the complete opposite. So I talk about in my program, there are 6 key principles: mindset, health, wealth, success. Subscribe now. Mindset, health, wealth, success, relationships, and physicality, right? For me, I want to be the healthiest I can be. I want to be the mentally toughest I can be. And I want to be in fulfillment with all 6 key principles of my life. Because why? I wasn't at one stage, but because my bigger impact is to benefit the generation that I felt like was once failing. And now I feel like a very big outlier in our generation, the way that I do things, the way that I operate. So for me, my core values in success are freedom, fulfillment, and to be of service as well. So that's why I've chosen the route of going in, being able to work from a laptop, because I want to travel the world and I can also give back to men around the world who are struggling, which is, for me, arguably the greatest gift I could ever give back. Why? Because I get the service and I love giving back, but also having the freedom to operate on my own schedule, because I used to, and I'm sure you boys did as well, was working a traditional 9 to 5 and a shitty hospitality job, which was personally just not for me. So for my version of success is to live in freedom, fulfillment, and to be of service to others. That's my version of success.
Lovely. That was so good.
Thank you, bro. To not be
Well
controlled
said.
by anyone else. This is my life. I get to do what I want. Like,
That's
this is
it. It's powerful.
Love
And
it.
that probably leads into the next question, really. If there's a young person out there watching this and they've listened to us three chin wag today about different topics, what would be your advice, Carter, to that young person that's working the 9 to 5, watching the porn, drinking the alcohol, and pretty much just wanting those material things, but deep down inside they do want something more? What would be your advice to that person to start their journey on the great work?
Yeah, wow. Geez, that's such a good question. I love asking that question to my podcast guests as well. But
Yeah,
when you're under the spotlight, it's a big question, isn't it?
it is.
Um, I think for me, what I did and what worked for me is I found a mentor. I think get help. Like it is such a big multifaceted thing, and what will work for you will not work for someone else, and what might work for someone else won't work for you. So it's like just find a mentor wherever you feel called, or try for you in any realm, and then peel back the onion layer.
Yeah.
Um, I think too many people, and I was guilty of this too, was looking for this big change. If it's money, like looking for this big influx of money, or looking for this big breakthrough when I'm now healed. Whereas for me, it's been an onion layer. It's been like, okay, there's the porn, and there goes that, and then now I'm looking at my wounding, and now oh, here's
Yeah.
another wound, and now I'm looking into my masculinity, now I'm looking into my father's side, and you just keep pulling back at the layer of the onion. But and then I'd also just um I'd probably advise to seek pursue gratification, not non-instant gratification. So cut out some of the cheap junk food, cut out the porn, cut out the binge watching Netflix, cut out the dating apps, or just try and cut out as many of them as you can and start looking to pursue long-term gratification. It's a big one for men, and it's hard today in a world of instant gratification, as we've talked about.
100%.
So yeah.
Mitch,
What was hit me with the question one more time, just so I can
what would be your
paraphrase this
advice to
right.
that young person that's starting their inner healing journey, their journey towards something better? Because what they're currently doing is those things that we talk about. How can they start to find a way out to then discover their own purpose?
Okay. I'm going to give you 3 words. Invest in yourself, right? There is one you. There is one Mitch Durden. There is one Carter Russell. There is one Nathan Francis. The reason why we have come to a place in our lives where we can give back is because we've spent so much time working on the gift that was first originally given to us,
100%.
which is us. And this is where Carter's comes in. Invest in yourself. If that's a mentor, you get to pick your mentor. You get to pick your role models. You cannot do this alone in a process where you are so lost. Sure, you are the only person that can make change, but you cannot do this alone. So invest, find a mentor, find a life coach. This is not a plug at all. I will help you, but sure, this is not a plug. Find a mentor, find a coach. You pick your family, you pick your mentors. So invest in yourself, because life gets fucking lonely when you try to do this by yourself, and it gets even more tough. So invest in yourself. I can sit here and say I invested 20 grand last year. Actually, you know what? Sorry, it was 30 grand on myself alone. And that was through studying, that was through working, that was through physical, that was through emotional. Invest in yourself, because you are the one gift that you have been given in this life.
Yeah, well said.
Yes.
Well said. I don't have anything to top those two, but I guess you could just. I just want to read what Carter said. It's a forever onion. You're stripping back so many layers, and it can get quite hard. It can get quite tough through the trenches of it all. But having that person there beside you that you can bounce things off, can give you advice, can help you through, makes the journey go that little bit quicker. And I know that a lot of men out there don't ask for help because they had a dad that doesn't ask for help, and that's their father figure in their life. And that generation of our fathers, that's a big program amongst our fathers in society in general, is that they don't ask for help because it's a sign of weakness. Crying's, they're always told to hide their tears. I'm encouraging everyone out there to cry. Crying's so powerful. It's so releasing. It's so healing. I cry probably once or twice a week. If I'm really in the trenches going through something, then it might be a couple of times a day. But crying's so powerful because it's releasing all those emotions that you've had stuck inside. And Carter's spot on. It is that forever onion, and you're always stripping things back. But a piece of advice I heard recently was don't forget to live either. You could be going through the trenches, quitting this, quitting that, doing this, doing that, having all these lists of things to try and do in a day. But don't forget to live, be around people that are positive, that might be a couple of steps ahead of you, finding that tribe, and just don't forget to live either. This work can get quite consuming when you're in the trenches. And I know for me, I forgot to live a bit of this. I was sort of hiding myself a bit. So like, don't forget to live, and because when you're out in public, you can still be that best version of you that you're sort of meditating in and stuff. I know for me, I was sort of envisioning being this person, then it's like stepping into being that person. And we can get caught up in all this stuff being too consuming. Don't forget to live either.
Yes. One thing that Carter said, I will throw something accountability into here. One thing that Carter said as well that stuck with me. There is no perfect childhood.
No.
Right? So you can be in you can be in excuse mode all your life and make excuses as to why this has happened and why this is happening for your life. Your first step is awareness. So you can be in excuse mode or you can be in action mode. If personal development was easy and becoming successful was easy, then everyone would do it. But you have everything you need to move past it. It's not your parents' responsibility anymore. They did the best with what they could. And unfortunately, some people are given a shitter run than others. But that's where resilience and strength comes from.
100%.
So it's up to you. Invest in yourself.
Yes, ask for help and then start
Yes.
to instill patience, resilience, and discipline in all areas of your life, and your life will change. I know a big one for me was patience.
Yes.
Lot of boys out there your age, you two, that are very impatient with life and with women and with different things, and they want things right now.
Yes. I agree. I am the same sometimes. It's like you got to work for these things.
Yes.
It's not about the destination, it's about the journey, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well said too, Carter. We'll finish with that one. Are you finding some more patience in your life now?
I am, yes.
Yeah.
I am definitely like it. I think, and that comes back to a dopamine thing again. Like, I get a tick off my list. And it's like that's my dopamine now. It's like, I mean, I still eat chocolate and I still watch movies and stuff. So I haven't given up all dopamine, but like I get hits out of like working towards something. That's what really
Yes.
drives me these days. And I think, yeah, I think our generation is impatient because we have the capability to. If we want to be impatient about sex, we got porn. If we want to be impatient about food, we got Uber Eats. If we want to be impatient about dating, we got dating apps. So it's kind of that muscle of longer term gratification is weakening naturally because we're not using it.
Yeah.
Carter, do you think we'd be so impatient if social media wasn't there?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be contributing.
Because I think it's like a big like screen that's just in front of us, like literally. But there's nothing you can't access about other people without like from social media. Like you said, about the porn, about the dating apps, everything is there. And other people are either like living it better than us, I'm gonna say. So it's being idolized. But imagine if that was taken away. Like, do you still think we'd be so impatient to have all these things done?
It would
I don't
force
think so.
people to, not force, but it would show people to have that longer term vision or that longer term
Yes.
goal, like Carter was saying.
Yes.
That's what it would show
100%.
people, is to think long term. A lot of people are just stuck in the short term. Oh, it's, whatever it is now. It's like, well, a lot of people out there, Carter, I find, Mitch, don't have a 10-year plan. Let alone a 12-month or a 2-year or 5-year. It's like, well, where do you see yourself in 10 years? It's a question we get asked all the time. Well, Mitch, where do you see yourself in 10 years, brother? Put you on the spot.
Where do I see myself in 10 years? I'm going to be completely honest with you, Nathan. I don't like to think this far ahead in the future.
Is that too far, is it?
I don't
I was
think
gonna
it's
say
too
same.
far. Only because I know how much my life has changed in the last 2 years, let alone like a month ago from the breakup I had.
All right, let's
So,
shorten it then.
I
5
think-
years.
Where do I see myself in 5 years?
Yeah.
I see myself living abroad with
Yep.
5 years, 27. I'm gonna say in 5 years, I'm gonna be living abroad with a beautiful woman who is on the same path as me. I have launched my. Why have I got balloons running up? How did I do that?
Maybe you were supposed to.
How do I do that? Let me do it again.
If you're watching on YouTube and Rumble, Mitch just had some balloons fly up. So obviously that's his 5-year plan right there.
Yeah, with a beautiful woman living abroad, living in my true purpose, which is to give back and help this generation and help young men. But also by the time I want to have an app launch to be working with alongside a woman as well, who I'm going to look after the men and she's going to look after the women.
That's
so
awesome.
We're going to have an app on how to improve your life, take it up. And then I'm going to leave it there because I don't know what else I can see.
Vision board that, man. Vision board vision board that. Right.
I like to stay within about maybe a day radius. I don't like, sometimes I future pace, but
Carter, to help inspire people out of their current and get them long-term thinking, I'll ask you the question, where do you see yourself in, I don't know, 2, 5, 10 years?
Yeah. I see myself really purpose driven by what I'm doing, like laser focused. That's I just that I thrive in that, and I have uh been kind of astray from that recently, and I'm so excited to just be laser focused. I think 5 years I'll probably be a father.
Let's
Um,
go.
yeah,
Let's
I'm
go.
excited. Yeah, and I want to be supporting the family as well. The breadwinner, I want to be the main income earner, and yeah, look, I don't know what the purpose is necessarily going to look like because it's 5 years away, but I know that I'm going to be in my field of absolute
Mm,
purpose, head down. Like, could accidentally work 16 hours a day because I'm so in it.
Mm.
Um, that's where I'll be in 5 years, and hopefully, living somewhere beautiful.
Love that, man. That's
Nathan,
awesome.
where do you want to be in 5 years?
Me, but I've been 5 years, so I'm currently 29, so I'll be mid-30s by then. So we've got a few years
Yeah.
on you blokes. But where I see myself in 5 years, I see myself with a couple more books out there being published. I've got one coming out soon. I see myself probably still maybe living here or working abroad as well. I want to take this work around the world too. Being in some more schools as well. This program I'm launching, which isn't a plug, but I am launching a group coaching program. March 17th.
Subscribe.
Jump on my website and have a look at that. If you got a family, a teenager that's struggling with this sort of stuff, I that program I want in schools. So, and I see that going beyond Australia. So I see myself speaking up and putting this program in schools and being a speaker of this stuff going forward and having a few books out there. So obviously having a beautiful woman beside me and a family too, given I'm 29. So that's a bit of a program for people my age. You know, where's your house? Where's your woman? Where's your family? Well, that's all coming for me, and I'm very
Let's
patient
go.
with the process.
Let's go.
Yes.
Damn right. Let's get it.
So yeah, that's where I see myself, boys. And probably have one or probably both of you doing some guest speaking with me as well, because I feel like you two are going to be going abroad as well.
Oh, yes, sir.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Boys, gentlemen, nearly not boys and men. Men, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on this today. This was, well, we didn't really have a plan, so this was really good considering there was no plan.
Epic.
It was awesome. Thank
Epic
you so
episode.
much for giving your time to this. We will put the links to the individual stories in the bottom. If you boys have any resources you want to share for people out there as well, send them through. We'll put them in the bottom too. If there's anything that you guys have that might have helped you, can help someone as well.
Yep.
Final word, Mitch. What's your final word from today to sum it all up? And then Carter can give his and we'll call it a day.
Invest in
In
your
yourself.
damn self, boy. There is one you. Invest in yourself. Find someone
Beautiful.
out there. Find someone to help you with it.
Good, Carter.
All
Final
from me.
word.
Final word. One word would be empowerment.
Let's
Look for
go.
ways to find your power. You have
Love
control
that.
of your life, so take it back.
And reach
Be
out and ask
yourself.
for help.
Don't use shitty pickup lines.
Reach out and ask for yourself. Reach out and ask for help too. This has been the Breaking Free podcast. Thank you, Carter and Mitch. We might do this again in a couple of months, I reckon. And we'll
Easy.
catch you guys
We're
again
done.
real soon. Reach out to these two. They're doing awesome things. There's not many 20-year-olds doing it. These two are on the right path. They're fantastic. Boys, men, thank you so much. I'll see everyone again soon. Cheers.